I grew up Catholic, and I honestly didn't pick this school because of that reason. It was actually something that never crossed my mind. I was actually at the beginning kind of turned off by the idea about going to Catholic school. I was thinking that it was going to be really strict and you couldn't do a lot of things. But when I got here, I realized how focused it is on what I value, which is social justice. And that's what I love, that you're working directly with other people, that you just don't sit in church and you pray, but you go out there and work with somebody who's marginalized or who is in poverty. My spring break trip last year, it was for ASB, Alternative Spring Break. We went to Sacramento, California, and I worked in an agency called Loaves and Fishes. It was a homeless agency, but it had so many different kind of services available. I was in the park one day working, and somebody asked me for a garbage bag. And I was like, okay, well, here you go, here's a garbage bag. And they were so extremely grateful. And later, I come to find out that having a garbage bag means that your clothes aren't gonna get wet, and you're not gonna be cold at night, or at least it's gonna be a little more comfortable. It was for the first time I realized, like, even the smallest thing that you never even consider will make a difference in your life can affect somebody so drastically. One of the programs that I really, really liked was Campus Kitchen, and I worked with them for about 4 or 5 months, and we delivered food to the people around our community who did not have any meals on the weekends. They were mostly senior citizens who got meals during the week, but 2 days and you don't have any food, it's pretty tough. I think my motivation comes from just living in Detroit. In the beginning of my sophomore year, I had to live in a really bad neighborhood where I knew drugs were going on next door. You could hear shootings on Saturday nights. It was just a really bad environment. But for the first time, I actually understood that in order to change something, you had to know it first. How can you fix what you don't understand? So I got more involved into the issues that were going on, into why people are homeless, why they use drugs, why are people unemployed, what's going on. And the more I got into it, the more personal it became. It was really sad. I remember one time I went to a soup kitchen and I was talking to someone, and she was so closed off. She didn't want to tell me exactly what was going on. The very first thing she I'm just trying to get back on my feet. I had all these things before. I'm just having a really hard time. Even before I even questioned her about it, she was so defensive. And someone shouldn't have to be like that. They shouldn't make excuses for what goes on in their life, and you shouldn't judge them. So I think that's my motivation from having a personal connection with somebody, because you actually know them. They're more than just a face or more than a stat. They're somebody you know. It's just always at the back of your mind that if you're not the one going out there and helping them, then you can't guarantee that someone else is going to do that. A couple years ago, I organized a service event. It was Make a Difference Day. And when we arrived to the area, we realized it's in a pretty bad neighborhood. And the priest told us that the area is infested with drug use. And I remember thinking, okay, we're gonna clean it up, and then what? It's still gonna be a bad area, people are still gonna be using drugs. But as we were working and just cleaning up the area, I realized, okay, we can't fix the drug problem, but at least now it's clean. And when kids get dropped off for school, or people are going to church, they're going to realize that someone did this. Somebody cleaned it up, and people do care. I highly, highly recommend to volunteer. When I started here, I was the shyest, quietest, would not say anything student ever. And I forced myself to get out there. And I did it through the way that I felt most comfortable, which was volunteering. And from that, I found my career. I'm going into social work. The university is all about an urban context, so service is important here. It's okay to want to help Africa and to want to go over to Haiti, but you have to start with what you know and where you are. So this area right here, that's where it needs help. And that's the mission of university. I can name so many times when after service or after volunteering, we sat down and you reflect about what's going on. How do you feel about somebody asking you for money, or do you have any judgments, any preconceived notions that you want to talk about that have changed? It's about what's going on the inside as well as the outside. One of my favorite quotes is, "You are men and women for and with others." And I love that they stick the part about being with others, because you have to work alongside with them. You can't just intend to help somebody but never actually take their hand and help them. And after doing all this service and just trying to live out the mission of the university, I'm glad I came here. I wouldn't go anywhere else.